Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leha, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.
Back at you in Gloves Off, and today I have a great guest, Scott Rogers, who's running for LISD trustee. And good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Doing very well, thank you.
How's everything?
Doing very well. Kids are growing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, mine too. You were looking at some pictures that came out in memories like 10 years ago, and they were little bitty, now they're in their 20s. You know, so you're like, wow.
You blink and
that's it. It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
And I guess that's what we want. You know, we want a betterment in life, education for our kids, and I guess that's why you're running, because you want to be part of the LISD board. So tell me a little bit about yourself, and tell me a little bit of why.
Well, I mean, I moved to Laredo back in 1990 and met my wife here. We got married. We have 7 children.
That's
all grown up now. 5 are products of LISD. So, you know, I've been working with LISD for 25 years now, and you know, the kids have all gone off to college, you know, careers in the military and so on, and I think it's just now's the time to take the opportunity to give back and provide some direction and guidance to LISD.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of things going on with the school boards, and a lot of people say, well, you know, this is the way it should be done. And it's actually like, there's a lot of things that people are right now, how can I put it? People are not trustworthy or not trusting their municipal governments. And LISD and UISD or municipality, if you want to put it that way, because they're as big as the city, really, in employment and stuff. And people don't trust that. And so, what do you think the people are looking for? In other words, to see what changes could be made, if any, towards the school district?
Well, first and foremost, I think that people want to be able to communicate, you know, address the needs, redress grievances. And what I've seen lately, and not just at our local school board, but they typically implement local policy, which is a framework around the legal policy, but they tend to focus on censorship and not allowing individuals to express their First Amendment rights, especially when you're bringing statements of fact forward in regards to either behaviors or the structure or how administrators are operating the school district that's not in their favor. And when they cut themselves out of not wanting to hear what the public or parents or students have to say, then it's hard to come up with some resolutions to address the concerns. And what I've been noticing a lot is that the school board seems to be very reserved, and in a way, I guess some of them feel insecure because of a lot of the decisions they made in the past have been a reflection or result of how the system's been operated there. And there needs to be some change, and a lot of people are reluctant to change, but change is the only constant, you know, in this world.
Absolutely.
You know? And I really hope that, you know, the voters selecting me, I'm not wavering. I don't have family members. I have acquaintances working for the school district, but I have no family members working for the school district. So I've never offered favors. It is what it is. I've always told the truth about everything. And the most important thing is that you keep your integrity about you.
Absolutely. You know, you said something about change. there's a lot of different types of changes, but you want a positive change moving forward.
Absolutely.
And last year I did a study on school to prison pipeline districts. And we had Appleseed Foundation come in, and I invited several members of both trustees of both school districts. And LISD was very, very positive in changing, and also LISD was really not that bad towards the school to prison pipeline, while UISD was a little bit more harsher. And but all in all, LISD seemed to have a little bit more care, if you want to put it that way. LISD wanted to see if it was true before they would change. And once they realized that there was change, they started trying to improve for the betterment.
Right.
And like I told the people that came down in the Appleseed, we need the policies in order for us to be able to stop it in legislation.
Correct.
Because you might have some school districts that adopt this policy and others, let's just do away with them, with those certain types of policies. And everybody's concern was that with vaping, and vaping was it's a big issue. And it's, they were blaming everybody in Amazon and YouTube and TikTok and everybody else, while they were not blaming the security that was there, so one of the security of each school, because by the amounts of vape pens that were being caught and so on and so forth, there has to be a lax in the security for all those things to be passing through, especially if they're metal, and they're plastic and metal tips and all this other stuff. So I know that certain school districts are now carrying clear backpacks, right?
Correct. Yeah, they went to clear backpacks. In my opinion, I really don't think it makes much of a difference either way. The vape pens are very small. They even sell them in like styles of markers or pens or things that you would see normally every day. You would not expect it to actually be what it is. But
Correct.
A lot of this does start at home.
Yeah.
The district needs to provide more support for the parents. They need to provide more education to the students. When I worked at Lada, and Lada Academy is the school where, a lot of individuals, students get in trouble. So they sent them over there for a while, and we were catching students coming in that were under the influence of marijuana during the day and stuff. And, I'd hear some of the teachers saying, you shouldn't do that. And I understand. I mean, they're trying to teach them, coach them about what they should and should not do. But I explained to the teachers, the interesting thing is that at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, these kids go back to the environment they came from. And a lot of times, most of the behaviors and stuff that they have are for underlying issues, not so much the actual behavior that they're involved in. Drug use and things are all a mental health issue. And until we address mental health to the level that we need to address mental health, I think we're going to continue having different scenarios and different situations where if it's not vape pens today, it's fentanyl tomorrow. If it's not fentanyl tomorrow, it's going to be something else.
Sure.
And until we break that cycle and get our kids into having more mental health services, and to help the parents in understanding the mental health services, we're not going to be able to stave off as much of this as we like. I mean, we could have the most secure facility in the world, but if somebody's going to want to do it, they're going to do it regardless. Now, when it comes down to security and having the metal detectors and everything, that's very good. I mean, they are trying to stave it off, but there's also, we have employees too that vape.
Yeah.
And, it's accessible. I've seen instances where, the teachers leave the keys on the car, and before you know it, the car's stolen out of the parking lot, and the kid takes off with it and gets in trouble. And, the teachers and staff need to be aware that, like I had told the teachers before about, I even spoke to the kids when they came in under the influence. I said, look, we know you're going to do this, just don't do it when you're here. Okay?
Yeah.
What you do at your own home is I've always felt, even as a manager before and working for the school district, is like, what you do between 8 and 5 is our business. What you do after 5 is your business. So we've tended to gotten to this point where I even noticed some of our policies with LISD is that, you represent the district on and off the job. And I'm like, well, that's true. Everybody represents their organization on and off the job. You know, you represent your kids on and off the job. But at the same time, you know, there has to be some independence from that as well. And, you know, we've seen instances like we just saw, a bunch of rookie police officers, you know, getting in trouble. You know, they went out of town to have I guess a celebration or something, and it went awry. And, you know, even our law enforcement agents, you know, have issues with, you know, mental health and other problems. And sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, taking a step back, reevaluating everything, reevaluating the policies that LISD has, because the legal framework is set in law. The local policies are set by the board. So the more that the board gets involved to create local policies that are contrary to legal framework, that's where it imposes scenarios like censorships or violation of your First Amendment, where you're not able to speak, and people get fearful of speaking up. So they feel a fear of retaliation. They have a fear of, you know, if I have a family member working for the school district, what's going to happen to them if I speak up? And we shouldn't be fearful of that. We should be wanting and engaging individuals to come forward and bring forward their concerns. That's the only way we're ever going to solve anything in this world, is that when you have good communication, it results in very positive things.
Absolutely. You know, and it's good thing that you said mental health and drug use and so on and so forth. When we did that study, we did the study as well as, and it was pretty intensive, and they were talking about the time frames where kids are spent a lot of times, because most of everybody says, well, they spend a lot more time at home than they do in school. Actually not, because they spend a lot of time at home asleep.
Right.
So the major time that they spend with the mother, depending on the age group, was about 2.5 hours to 3, depending on the age group. If you were smaller, you spend a lot more time than if you were a teenager, right? But all of a sudden, if you had a father living with you at home, the maximum amount of time was 45 minutes.
Right.
So imagine, we have a lot of kids that do not have fathers living at home. The father's not around, whether because of divorce, and the courts remove the father from the kid's life. That's a fact. And what happens is that people always blame the child's problem on the father. That's what I saw, especially in UISD, was no matter what the child did, and I heard this left and right, it's the deadbeat father's fault. But wait a minute, the father might want to be part of the child's life, and it's not being allowed to, number one. And so who, you know what I'm saying? So there's alienation there, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and people say, no, the problem is it's the fact that the deadbeat fathers, and I heard it from counselors, I heard it from principals, from the police, people at Step Academy, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe they're being alienated from their father, you know, and that's how the kid is rebelling. And that's a lot more sense into that. But so you are on the right track with it is a mental health issue. We need to address it. On the thing on vape pens and how it's going on, the advertisement, the way they're doing it, and the way they're pushing it towards kids, I think we have to pass some type of law to go after that type of advertisement, like they did with cigarettes.
Exactly.
And we have to do that towards the vape pens, and the city is allowing them to open up everywhere.
Right.
You know, so they say, no, it's because everybody wants to smoke. Yeah, but they're opening up everywhere. There's a difference.
It's like every corner, every block. Every block. You know, and the interesting thing about that is, to Paul, because you bring up a very good point, is the fact that it's always easy to find excuses.
Yes.
It's more difficult to find
Solutions. Yes.
And as a result, we've created a society in believing in victimhood.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
nobody's
absolutely.
willing to take responsibility for their own actions. And as a result, you know, whether the father or the mother are in the picture of the lives of these children, they're affected by a lot of their peers. And we didn't have mental health, you know, when we grew up. Our mental health was very strong-willed parents and discipline. And I'm not saying or advocating for that. I'm just saying that once we became parents, we had to balance what was discipline versus what we endured, and at the same time have to communicate more with our kids, sitting them down and whatnot. I do believe that when you want to measure somebody's success, all you have to do is look at their kids.
Absolutely.
And if their kids are successful, that tells you everything you need to know about the parents, whether it's a dual family home, single family home, whether it's the father or the mother. But yes, society in of itself tends to demonize, if you will, one gender over the other.
Absolutely.
Instead of getting them to cooperate and coordinate around the child and their life, because we tend to get caught up in our everyday things that are going on, and sometimes we tend not to pay a lot of attention, but we need to look at those nuances. What is going on? Why is somebody upset? Why is somebody behaving this way? Why is somebody acting out in the manner that they're acting out? Is it a relationship problem they're having? Is they having issues at home? Are they having issues here? We need to ask those questions. We need to get the kids to open up, because once they start opening up and they actually start letting you know, including the parents too, with the school district, this is a situation, because a lot of us are prideful.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about our personal feelings. We don't want to talk about what's going on in our lives, because we feel vulnerable and weak. Mm-hmm. And in the end, that creates more problems, because the more you keep it in and you don't have someone to confide in, you tend to start drifting towards those crowds or those peers that have nothing in your best interest in mind.
No, you're absolutely correct, and that you see that you want to belong, and you want to belong to a group. Mm-hmm. That we're humans. That's the way we're social. We're social animals, right?
Yeah, we're tribal. That's the way we are. It's the way we're built.
Exactly. So what happens is, if you have a kid that is not in band, it's not in football, not basketball, doesn't belong to a type of team,
right?
They're going to be lost. Mm-hmm. And then you have gangs involved in there. That's all, if you want to put a gang team, same thing. It's a group, right? It's a tribe, if you want to put it that way. And so they're going to be pushed into those areas. Right. Sometimes they get bullied so much that they need protection, and they end up going into a gang because mm-hmm. of the protection. Mm-hmm. And people do not understand that, and because there's protection in numbers, right? As they say, but and that's what really happens, and we have to address that. And it's been taking a long time for educators and to realize that is the major problem. Right. The other major problem is, I say security, period. How do you feel about security in schools? How do you feel about it?
I think it needs to be beefed up some more. I think the security is necessary, because visibility is deterrent, and we all know that. The district's been adding in a lot of layered security features that we never had when we went to school, but times change, and we have to change with those times. But I will tell you, getting back to that, a lot of what the kids are feeling, and it comes down to one word, is acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not being or feel accepted by your family, if you don't feel accepted by the groups that you're with, you'll gravitate to those groups because they pour on the acceptance to you as a guise to their own malcontent.
Absolutely.
And what they have. So I look at the whole scenario, it also includes the employees of the district, is that we need to streamline and work on getting our grievance policies in order.
Yes.
We need to work on getting our human resources in order, the way we actually do our hiring and stuff, because in many ways we tend to thwart individuals from applying. The idea from the kids' standpoint is we've created a lot of great programs.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of great grants, which that's my forte with LISD, is writing the grants, and we've been able to set up welding programs and FFA and the farm to school, and we put in a esports program now, because some kids are not inclined to go into football or basketball or volleyball. But they will gravitate to those groups, and if they gravitate to those groups because they feel acceptance and they like what, you know, a lot of kids are into video games now. I think that's a really good thing because it pulls them away from those influences on the outside and brings them into this tribe that they're going to feel successful and they're going to feel like they have an opportunity to express themselves and succeed. And the more programs we bring in, we have a diesel mechanic program over at Figueroa High School, and it's been wonderful.
We need that.
You know, we're getting a lot of business partners together too. Yeah.
We need the vocations be brought back in.
Absolutely.
You know, taxidermy. I don't know how come they don't teach taxidermy. Why? Look at how many hunters are here, and just in Laredo alone, there's 2 taxidermists, I think, maybe 3. And everything else is shipped out of town. So, I mean, taxidermy it's a moneymaker. It's a trade. It's a skill. It's a trade that you can learn. That you can move forward. You can make a business out of. You can make a livelihood out of.
Absolutely.
Especially with hunting. Remember, hunting is one of the biggest businesses in Texas. You know, and a lot of people say no, it's not. You know, you have gas and oil, you have farm and ranching, and you have hunting.
Hunting's a very big
then
industry.
you know what I'm saying. So it's a huge industry, especially here. I don't know how many people just in the near vicinity don't hunt.
Right.
You know, have a deer mounted or just a skull mount, and a skull mount. You know, it's $300-$400.
Those skill
So
jobs.
we need that. I don't know why they don't do that.
Those skill jobs and the programs that LISD can bolster and brag about are the skilled positions, because those positions, believe it or not, a lot of people are like, well, you know, I went to college, my wife went to college and everything. You know, you have doctors, lawyers, those are very skilled positions, very high paying jobs. But the skill positions, I've seen oil line workers making well above 6 figures. Truck drivers making well above 6 figures. Welders, you know, you name
Plumbers.
it. Diesel mechanics, plumbers.
Electricians.
You would be very surprised, because a lot of individuals say, oh, no, those are laid jobs. But you know what? Skilled positions like taxidermy, they're very skilled. And it takes skill to do things like that.
Butchery. I mean, hang up good meat, you know, butcher shop, you know,
And speaking
meat
of,
market.
Nixon High School has a meat processing
Yes.
facility
I
there now.
remember Mr. Sepulveda back when I was in high school used to teach there. And here's another one. Yesterday I did that study on Laredo in comparison with everything that was going on and where we ranked. And I was very surprised that we don't have any manufacturing jobs.
Right.
Because we don't have no manufacturers.
Right.
You know, there's no factories, there's nothing. It was 0.8%.
Right. Very small.
No,
Very
not 0.8,
small.
that's nothing.
Yeah.
It's
not
below
even
zero.
It's not even
You know,
registered.
You know, 0.8. You're like, where'd you get the 0.8 from? You know what I'm saying? And
it's probably small businesses.
It's probably
That are
small
the
business,
small
right.
business manufacturers here.
yeah, absolutely, yes. You know,
It's not a
upholstery and
main
stuff.
manufacturer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you might be right, you know, because we have some leather good manufacturers for slings and guns and everything else that they make. You're
They're probably even including the people that actually make the piñatas here locally and stuff too.
You-
It's manufacturing.
you know what I'm saying? You might be right. And people say, but that's what we need. For us to grow, we better start looking for those factory jobs we're going to bring in, and not allowing them to go to San Antonio or McAllen or elsewhere. You know, they have to stay here. And I think that's where we need to do. We need to think about the future of where it's going, build the jobs in high school, especially the vocations, and then go forward. And then you can get a vocation. You can come out with a vocation.
Right.
Go into a vocation and then do business on the side. You'll do wonderful.
Absolutely. You know, one thing I do want to point out about Laredo, we are the largest land port, and we see a lot of, you know, not manufacturing, but the warehousing. We see a lot of trucking. One thing that wasn't wrapped into that equation at the time, and it's been decades, is the service industry. You know, the diesel mechanic services, the shops, the repairs, equipment. All this equipment needs that. And we also need manufacturing in order to produce and bring more high-class quality jobs to Laredo. And we've been lacking that for a long time. The other
It's
thing,
not.
the other thing I noticed, and adding to your point about your podcast you had the other day when we were talking about statistics and whatnot, is when you actually look at LISD being the largest employer in the school district. Okay, if you look at a lot of the economies in the state of Texas and the bigger cities, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, they actually, their industry drives education. Our business partners in our community need to be telling the school district, these are the skills we're looking for from our graduates. Because a lot of employers, what they're doing is, these kids graduate, they go out and look for a job, and they says, well, I was hoping that you had a little bit of, skills in this set, or skills in this set, or skills in this set. And what's happening is there's a disconnect between education and the business community. The business community drives education, not the other way around. But we have it opposite to what the norm is in these larger cities, where they're being more productive and they have more manufacturing. And that's the reason why a lot of these bigger companies are moving into those areas, because the businesses are driving the education model. Here it's like, oh, whatever, because we're the largest employer, we're just going to push the kids through like cattle, and from K to 12, and you graduate up, now you're on your own. You're going to have to pay us taxes someday, right? So.
No, that's exactly what's going on, and it's incredible.
Absolutely,
it's incredible, and I did that study to kind of gear me to where we're at, because there's always, we're the number one land port, beautiful. We're the only one land port. We're the biggest port in the nation. We're beautiful,
right?
But how about everything else?
Right. And we
how
need,
about everything else?
We need accountability.
We're number 10 in poverty.
Yeah.
We
need
States.
accountability. That's ridiculous.
We're the biggest land port,
right?
But we're number 10 in poverty.
Yeah.
That means that nothing's staying here.
And think about, if we're the biggest land port with all these facilities and everything going on, what's happening is the city and the county and the school districts are gaining so much tax dollars from that base, but our own community is the one that suffers.
Yeah.
We're getting all this tax dollars, but we really don't see the investment placed in, because what's happening when the economy goes bad? Like right now, we're kind of teetering on recession. We've probably been in a rolling recession for a while. Businesses that have money, when things are bad, they invest. They open new plants. They create new jobs, because it's going to spur the economy. In Laredo, I've been looking at properties here, and I've seen some properties still on the market 7, 8 years. They've never lowered their price on what they want. They want an acre of land on 35. They want $5 million for it. Okay, who's going to be able to afford that from a local economy and somebody working a job here? We're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by not creating these opportunities for our community. And we can't always hang on the fact that, we're getting a lot of federal dollars. You're getting all these federal dollars because your poverty level is so low. It was like when I was working with the school district, when our schools weren't doing so well. They're doing really great in the ratings right now. But when the schools weren't doing well, we were getting more money. They were dumping more money into the problem. I see it the opposite way. I would rather see the good schools receiving more money, and the bad schools, you know what, you need to bring up your productivity levels in order for you to be able to receive these funds. Because if all we're doing is we're funding things that are bad, it's similar, getting back to the vape pens. If you're encouraging the behavior, if you're modeling the behavior, what's the expectation? It's going to always be the same.
Absolutely.
Nothing's going to change.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely correct. And it's a shame, but it's happening.
It is happening. We need individuals to step up and not think about me. And like I've told a lot of individuals that I know, I says, I've never put myself in front of anyone. I've always put my family first. I put my college first. I put my college mates that I had my tribe and group when I was going to college. Do the same thing with my coworkers. I concern myself with their mental health.
Is something that selfishness is what drives those that lead. Do the same thing. My school comes first. My students come first. This comes first. You know what I'm saying? My family comes first. I'm at the back, and I'm always pushing forward for everybody else. The community that we live in comes first. When when the pandemic came and all these businesses are in the front, I gathered them all together. I called the city manager, hey, we need this, we need that. Some of the businesses stayed open because of how we talked and how we pushed, because they would have closed and they would have disappeared. And you need to have that type of stand up and lead. Absolutely. And we need those type of individuals. We don't need people in office anymore that are just going to do because that's what everybody does. Yeah, I'm going to vote because everybody else voted that way.
We've always done it like this,
No.
This is the way it's always been. But that's the problem. It's the complacency that we have. The other thing is too is that a title does not create a leader.
No.
People are willing to follow you regardless of your title or pay.
Right.
And they'll follow you because of the person you are, because you're always listening, you're caring, you're wanting them to succeed. Your success is based on others' success.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. If Laredo succeeds, it's because we want others to succeed. We don't want to keep Laredo down in the number 10 spot of poverty. We want to get our community up to being number 1, number 2, not just in the state, but on a global and national level. Look at the state of Texas. We're like our own economy here. There should be no reason Webb County is the poorest county in the state.
Yeah.
We can't blame education for it. We have a university. We have 2 universities now. We have the health science for UTSA, and we have TAMU. That was the best thing that ever happened to this community, is getting a 4-year college here. I'm not saying everybody's going to go to college. Some, like my kids, they went to college and the military. Some went straight to college. Some didn't go to college. Some went to trade schools, and they have a trade. And you know what? They're all successful. Why? Because they dedicated themselves and the opportunities were given to them. The opportunities were presented to them for them to succeed and be successful. That's what we need to do. We need to plant the seeds of success in our youth, and we need to get our adults, our age, or much younger, maybe a little bit older, to understand that it's not about, oh, this is the way we've always done things.
No, absolutely. We need change, and we need change now. And it's a change in a positive manner, and we're about running out of time, but I'm going to tell you this. If somebody wants to help you in your campaign, how can they reach you?
Well, I have a Facebook account, Scott Roberts, Facebook, and also I have a LinkedIn account as well. I've been putting some postings up there, so they can always contact me, Messenger or whatnot. And that's the best way to get a hold of me, because typically I'm usually on Facebook, or I have my kids helping me out doing some of the advertisements and whatnot. And that's how I get the communication out there. I do have some friends of mine that do call me. I have some individuals that are helping me work on the side, and we're basically communicating word of mouth right now to get started, with the campaign. And I'll be doing more things as we move forward, just like, the podcast here as well. But I'm really looking forward to the opportunity of doing this. A lot of people have asked me at work, and they'll do it privately because they don't obviously want to voice their opinions publicly. I don't have a problem with that. People know me, I don't have a problem with that. But, they're like, well, what are you going to do if you win? I says, well, I'm going to have to retire. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And I says, I'll leave that in God's hands. Yeah. Things will work out. But, I'm not doing it for the purpose of, sacrificing my incomes and everything, because it's something that I personally feel adamant about, but I'm putting people first, and I don't mind taking the hits for that. I've always walked around with this target on my back because I'm willing to take the hits. And those of us in this community, if you all are listening, if you're not willing to take the hits and stick by your morals and stick by your decisions, right or wrong, then nobody's going to trust you.
Yeah. And that's what we need. We need people that people can trust. And I don't know how many people are running with you or not, but I'll say this to everybody. It's time now. This election is very crucial for the major scene of what we have as Americans, right? And people need to understand and research their candidates, not just vote.
Right.
Because he has a pretty bumper sticker or what have you. Or they gave me a pretty shirt. Vote for what the person has done. Laredo is heavily Democrat. You have to pick the people that want to change, not people that are part of the system going back into the role. Look at all that. Study each candidate. Understand each candidate. Ask questions. Call them. Send them messages. Hey, how about this? What do you feel about that? If they try to ignore you, then don't vote for them.
Right.
So, because just imagine if they try to ignore you from their candidates, let's say they get elected, they're not going to call you.
Right.
So
They won't.
talk to the people that are out there trying to get a voice for the community, that are trying to do something for the community.
Absolutely, and that's the most important thing, Paul. And I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, anytime. And we'll just keep on going, because there's a lot of things that we're not going to fix everything here, and everything's about solutions. But sometimes somebody can say something, and somebody hears it and says, "You know what? I was thinking about that the same way, so I'm going to go ahead and
Great.
change."
Oh, and like Thomas Edison said, it only took me 6,000 ways to figure out how to not make a light bulb.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, we'll do this. We'll leave you with this. God bless you. Stay safe. And until next time, much peace. Have you ever wondered about what happens in a martial arts studio? Well, you start right away by setting goals, building determination, gaining focus, building skills, all while becoming more fit, gaining confidence, and learning self-defense. Buitron Academy is a school where attitude meets aptitude. So give us a call at 956-401-4868.